Okay, welcome back. It's another video. I'm Matt the Rat. Thank you for joining me here today. So we're going to be learning a little more about Magic today. We're going to be playing a mono red, what we call burn deck, because there's going to be a lot of spells that just put the beat down and a lot of like lightning spells and fireballs, things like that, things that burn. And as we play, I'm going to kind of walk through some things, so it might be a little bit slower today because I'm going to take my time and really explain like how the game works and what you do, what do you think about your opponent's plays, and how they play back against you. We're not going to go into a whole lot of detail because this game is can be very complex, but don't let that deter you from playing because it's a lot of fun and you just kind of grow with the game and learn as you go. So let's see. First off, let's just take a little bit of a look at the deck. So we're going to have some Kamano faces Kakazan. Um, they de- Real quickly. I will go through this. They deal 1 point of damage to opponents or planeswalkers. Then they add like a plus plus, so they build up your creatures a little bit, and then eventually they'll transform into the 2/2 um, creature there. Mustard Swift Spear, haste, 1 drop. These ramp up your guys. Phoenix Chicks. They fly. Can't block. Power 2 damage, and if you deal damage to a player, you get to scry one, and I'll explain scry later. And this character, this bloodthirsty adversary, she's got a lot of things going on here, but basically she's a 2/2, has haste, meaning she can attack on the turn that she comes out, and if you pay 3 any number of times, you can, when you pay that cost, you put that many +1/+1 counters on Bloodthirsty Adversary, and then exile a target instant or sorcery card with value mana 3 or less and play it from your graveyard. So if we get to that point, I'll go real slow through that and we'll play through it. Felden Ronom Excavator. I don't really care for this card, but I keep it in just to keep it consistent with what the decks are that other people are playing right now. I might swap it out. Um, he can't block, but when he's dealt damage, you can exile some of your cards from your graveyard, and then you can use those at certain points. Lightning Strike is kind of the one of the backbones of this deck. Does 3 damage to any target, so that can be creatures, planeswalker, or your opponent, which is very important. Squee, another one I'm kind of on the fence about here. When he attacks, you get he produces a 1/1 goblin that also has haste and attacks on the same turn, and you can bring them back from your graveyard, stuff like that. Now, Chandra, she's a planeswalker. These are a little bit different cards. They're not exactly creatures, and they're not exactly the opponent. They get their let's see. She starts off with 3 points on her, and you can do the +1 ability or the top or the middle +1 ability. And usually the bottom one is the really powerful ability. And so every time you do a +1, that 3 becomes a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7. Once you reach 7 or higher, you can then pay the -7 cost. And in this particular Chandra, because there's a lot of them, you can exile the top 5 cards of your library, and you can cast red spells from among them this turn. And you get an emblem with whenever you cast a red spell, this emblem deals X damage to any target, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast that spell. So that can be very powerful, and that's a consistent thing that keeps going on. So a lot of times your opponents are going to target your planeswalkers because they don't want you getting that bottom ability out into play because it can be very deadly. Godric Cloaked Reveler, he's a 3/3 and he costs 3. He has haste, so he can attack on your first when he comes out. But when you cast 2 or more non-land permanents that come onto the battlefield in the same turn, he can turn into a dragon with a base power and toughness of 4/4. And so that can be a really good thing because a lot of times your opponents don't really have an answer to flying creatures, which can go over the top of their creatures unless they have flyers or an ability called reach, so they can reach the flyers. So having flyers is often a very good thing. Then we just have our regular mountains. We have 20 here, and then we have two Sokuzan Crucible of Defiance. So this card, when you bring it into play, you can use it to add 1 mana, red mana, or if you have the mana for it, and you can pay 4, you can discard the card and create two 1/1 colorless spirit creature tokens, and they have haste until the end of the turn. And this also costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control, which is out on the board. So basically, as you might be able to tell, this deck really wants to just get creatures and spells out as fast as possible before your opponent has time to really kind of build up their army of creatures and grow them to sizable amounts where they're doing serious damage. Once you get to a point where the opponent is creating all these big monsters, that's when the mono red aggro really starts to fail and break down because just doesn't have answers for that. But also you can see there's a curve here is what we call it, but it's in this case it's more of a angle. And so this would be your 1 drop or 1 mana cost here. Here's your 2, 3, and then your lands. So you can see this is really a steep curve, which means that this is a very fast and damaging deck. So, and where others might have a few here and one, and then they kind of curve like this and come back down. So that would mean like most of their cards are kind of in the middle, where at 2, 3, 4, 5 cost. So you can kind of get a feel for how fast the deck plays by this what we call a curve. Anyway, enough of all this. Let's get back into play here, and we're going to play probably a few games. We're going to play standard play, which is a 60 card minimum 60 cards, and it's only going to be best of 1 so that we don't have a sideboard. But I'll explain sideboards later because I'm going to enter into a tournament where it's going to be best of 3, where you play 3 games against the same opponent, and whoever wins the most games, the 2 out of 3, they win and move on to the next player. And so it's kind of fun. So let's see, mono red aggro. Let's go ahead and play. Sometimes it takes a few minutes, well, not minutes, but it takes a few seconds to find an opponent on here. And I am also ranked in the Mythic right now. So at some point we might go over there and watch me play some competitive Magic in the Mythic range. And I'll also go into explaining what the different tiers are. These start out with, I think it's copper or bronze, I think it is. And you go from bronze all the way up to Mythic. And once you get into Mythic, it's a whole nother ball of wax. But I'll explain that when I show you a game where we are actually playing in the competitive arena. Right here, we're just playing a standard game. There's no ranking and it's not competitive in the sense that you are going to rise or drop comparatively to other opponents. Okay, so here the first thing you want to do is look at this is your 7 cards, and you want to look and see that you have a decent amount of lands based for the type of mono or mana that you have here. So that's a 1, this is a 1, that's a 2, that's a 2, and that's a 3. So that means the 1s and 2s, 1, 1, 2, 2. We have enough for 1, 2, 3, 4 turns with just these 2 mana. So I'm going to go ahead with this. And then as we draw more cards, we'll probably get more land and other cards and creatures. But there we go. And we're also playing first. So that means we're on the play because we're going to play first. And my opponent, he's on the draw. So that on his first turn, he gets to draw. Okay, here we go. Bring that out. Monastery Swift Spear says haste and prowess. That's why I like to bring her out first. Haste means She can attack first turn. And prowess means that she gets an ability. Whenever I cast spells, she gets a +1/+1 till end of turn. Okay, so we're playing against at least a black deck, maybe mono black. You can kind of tell because they have a swamp card that's black. I have the red mountain card, so that's red. And black decks, they like to come out and kill your creatures and do a lot of nasty stuff. Let's see. First, I think I'm going to bring this guy out because he's only at 1 cost. So I'll have 2 left. And I'll explain battles in a little while here. You know what? Let's just go ahead and let's look at his abilities. Yeah, I don't like this guy. Let's get rid of him. So now she gets to attack. So first we had our upkeep and draw step. And then right here I'm toggling over these little faint symbols. Let's see, a 3/3. Eek. So we're going to want to get rid of that if we can. Let's play our Planeswalker. 2, 2, 3. Let's go ahead and bring him out. Her out. So they have a 3/3 and we have a 3/3. It means if they block our attack, both creatures die. So sometimes that's the right move. Oh boy, this guy. Yeah, so sometimes that's the right move. In that case, I liked it because it got rid of his creature, and I still had 1 creature left. Now he drew, and he has that one. This one came in because of this card that we had over on the side. It does different things here. So I'm going to bring her out.
Yep, I'm basically a professional at saving Innistrad by now.
Just 1 damage to him, gives me mana, which isn't going to work. So here they have a 4 or 5, so they can do 4 damage to us, which means our 2/2 toughness means they're going to kill me because I can only take 2 damage where they can take 5. 4 is their attack, and 2 is what I can take. So I'm not going to attack this turn. This is a case of where I'm not getting my creatures out fast enough against this black deck where I can just bowl them over. Okay. I'm gonna take a gamble.
Who needs a plan? Just improvise.
So I've got an idea here. My lightning strike does 3 damage. I'm gonna attack and try to get them to block me so that I'll drop him down to a 3 or a 2, and then I'm gonna shoot him with lightning strike. They might think on there that, hey, he's up to something, I'm not gonna block. I don't know. Sometimes they think that. Eek. So it had an ability. Come on, sacrifice more. That's a vicious card. Vicious creature. Yeah, so this deck is just bowling over me right now. They have more mana. we've been kind of stuck at 2, which isn't great. And there's another thing. So we start out with 20 life. And it's kind of said that life is like it's a resource. See, I can't even bring out a creature because I don't have enough mana. So you start out with 20. And it doesn't matter if you win with 20 or 1. As long as you have life, you win. And the opponent doesn't, you win. So it's more of a resource. Don't try to keep it up at 20 and start freaking out when you're down to like 15 or so. 2, you want to start freaking out. But, see, and he said good game because he knows he has me the next turn. All right. So that was a shameful defeat by our black nemesis there. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. There's better decks out there, and sometimes you get unlucky like we did with not getting lands in our draws. We kept getting other creatures that would have worked great, but we didn't have enough land to cast those. And that's called being mana screwed, actually. And the opposite of that is where you draw all lands without any creatures. That's mana flood. And that happens. Hopefully it doesn't happen too much. And we're going to try this again. We're going to play another with our mono red aggro. Down the road, I'm going to show you this. No, I don't think I played the Selesnya enchantments. It's a green-white. And some other ones I just built for fun to play against some buddies that aren't, so they're not as tough as these. So we're not going to really mess with those. Or maybe I'll show you one day, like, how to build a deck on Arena here, and then we'll go through and play it a few times. That might be fun. So again, this is kind of a tutorial and play session here. A lot of times you're going to see videos of people just playing Magic, and that's fun to do. And a lot of times it's for a little more advanced players because they're just moving fast and they know all the cards, and so they don't need to stop and read the cards or think about what step you are in your turn. They just go go go, and it's can be fun to watch, but sometimes it can be a little hard to follow, I guess is a good way to put it. Okay, so our opponent's going first. We have 2 lands again, so just consider this a regular one just like this. So we have a 1 drop there, another one of the same card, which is 1 cost. This is a 1 cost, that's a 1 cost. Everything's a 1 cost. So even if we didn't have this card, we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turns with just 1 land, but we have 2, which is good because if other cards come out that cost more, hopefully we have enough to keep it. So we're going to keep this hand. And this time, instead of playing first, we play second. Second player draws on their first turn, which means we're on the draw. Whereas they don't, because they go first, they're on the play because they play first. And I like to bring her out first if I can, because she attacks right away because she has haste, meaning she doesn't have to have the summoning sickness, which is normally when a creature comes out, they can't be used on that first turn. They have to spend a turn called the summoning sickness. And see this black this circle around? That means they have summoning sickness, and that's why he couldn't play it when he first brought it out. Okay. Now let's put this out, because when I bring him out, she has prowess, which means she gets a +1/+1. And yeah, I'm going to bring him out too. He also has haste, but he's a flyer, which means he can't attack him. Although he has Death Touch, and that sucks. Death Touch means any amount of damage they do to my creatures, it would kill him. So even if mine was a tough 5/5 creature, this 1/1 would kill him because he has Death Touch. So we're going to have to get rid of that creature. And we're going to do that by play with fire. Oh boy. Well, at least this one, he does have Toxic, which I'll explain if he hits us with that. He's a 2/2. I'm not going to block that because I don't want to die. Even though his toughness and power, his toughness is less than mine, I would do more damage to him and he wouldn't kill me normally. But see the death touch? That means he can kill me with no matter how much damage I do to him. Alright, so let's get this one out there. I guess I brought a land out already. Okay, let's get rid of this guy. And bring him out too because he has haste. And now we're going to attack with both. Because no matter who he blocks, he would die. And then she reverts back to a 1/2. Okay, see that right there? That means they just did toxic damage to us because he's also a toxic 1. Oh, he gave up. But with toxic, you can only go, if you hit 10 toxic points, you die. So it's a new sort of ability combat system that's been brought in recently. I haven't built a deck like that, but I played against some, and it can be pretty deadly. You got to watch the ones that have toxic in them pretty quick, or watch them and try to get rid of them if you can. All right, see what this is game 3. Maybe we can go 2 out of 3 games, and then we'll call it a day there. Okay, picked up an opponent here. Okay, so we're going first. Looks like we have 2 mana. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. So I would, oh boy, I don't know. See, we don't have a monster that we can bring out on turn 1. We do on turn 2, but we also have 2 mana. I'll just show you what a mulligan means. Okay, so here's the mulligan. Instead of that card, we get a new 7 cards. Now we have 3 lands, a 1, a 1, a 1, and a 3. So we can play all of our cards with these 3. However, since I mulliganed, I have to discard 1 card. And it's probably gonna be him. He's the least. Alright, so here we had to put him back in our library. And we're playing first. So let's bring him out and attack with him right away. Get a point of damage in there. Oh, I've never seen this bat before. I'll show you when you click on him, see what happens. Okay, so we could bring out any of these things. This does 2 damage, this does 3. Let's just go ahead and hit him for 3. Then we're going to attack and hit him for 1. Cool looking card sleeves there. That's I bet that's from this Karlov. Yeah, it's new Karlov set. Okay, you want to keep an eye on what they're playing. Looks like there's a swamp, and this is a black-white. So this deck, they're running black and white cards. So we didn't get another land. Let's bring her out because she's going to do more damage. And she has haste, which is good. So we're going to attack with all of them. We have no blockers. Down to 15. So black-white deck. Black, they do a lot of kind of control. They have nasty monsters, but they also play out of their graveyard. Cool, we got another land. Okay, so they have a 1 toughness, and we can do 2 damage to them. So let's go ahead and do that. Get rid of them. We'll play this, which does 1 damage to them. And now we're going to attack again for 3. And it looks like we have the advantage right now, but you never know. Never know what they have in those cards back there. And they have 4 mana, so they could be bringing out a big old creature. Black has some low-cost big creatures. And by big, I mean they can do a lot of damage, and they can take a lot of damage. So he just grabbed my card because it was an enchantment. And I'm not going to go through too much right now. I think we're kind of going through a lot of stuff already, so. So he can do 3 damage. Hmm. I don't want him to kill him right now. He could kill him and kill him. And he's a flyer, so let's not attack right now. We'll use him as blockers. So if they try to attack us, we'll use my creatures to block him. And, that's black for you. They've got good removal spells. And a lot of white cards have what they call lifelink. That allows, if the card that has lifelink does damage to his opponent, that opponent gets that much, or gets life back as much as the toughness of that creature. So here would be a 3. They'd get 3 life back. No attacks again. See, he's a flyer. My 2 here are not flyers, so I can't block that creature. My Phoenix Chick is a flyer, but one of its abilities or crutches is that it can't block. Hey, here's a Planeswalker. It's like what I was talking about. They had the 3 abilities. He has 2 points right now, and every time he does a +1 ability, his 2 goes up to 3, 4, 5, that sort of thing. So once he could right now, it would kill him because it'd use both of his 2 power. Create a 2/3 black vampire creature token with flying and lifelink. So there's that lifelink that I was talking about. Okay, so this creature is tapped, so he can't, because he attacked, so he can't block. He's a 2/3. I'm going to attack with him. I'm going to attack with him. Because he has 1 damage, that would kill their Planeswalker. Let's see if he blocks with this flyer against my creature, which would kill both of them, because they do the same amount of damage, and they have the same amount of toughness. Well, actually, it wouldn't kill either one of them. Turn on my fan because it's getting kind of hot in here, so hopefully it doesn't register on the microphone.
Nothing on Innistrad is free.
That was the Planeswalker talking. Watch this. Oh, shoot. He had a card come out. You guys here, this is my guy. Over here, the dinosaur. Rawr. Ooh, his creature just went up to a 5. Again, this is not looking good for us. We might only win 1 out of 3 games here. And now we have a land, but we don't have anything to cast with these lands anymore. Nothing back here. So this is a case again where we're getting mana flooded, meaning we've got plenty of land and we keep getting land. We have nothing to keep putting out onto the board here. Look at that guy. That's kind of neat. We can just give him a good game, and then we're going to just concede because there's no way for us to win this game. All right, so that's Magic the Gathering on Arena. We played 2 out of 3 games, and unfortunately, we didn't have very good luck with our draws. And so didn't really get some good sessions in here. It's a bit of a disappointment. We have the right amount of mana we need, and this deck traditionally does really well in the current set of standard cards construction. Like since we're playing standard, that means you have to have at least 60 cards like this here. Typically, you don't want more than 60 cards because it skews off how easy it is to pull your cards here. The more cards you have, the less likely you're going to pull the ones that you really need. So you want to keep it around 60. Can't have less than 60, and then including your lands. So anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. And next session we'll probably play maybe some blue deck, um, or we might play a tournament. That'll be kind of fun. And I'll show you about that. And I'm going to play a little bit more difficult deck because playing in tournaments, the people that play are very competitive. So that wraps it up. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate you watching till the end. Like and subscribe. And if you post a comment in there about any mistakes I did or something funny, you know, give a little jibe against me or something. Nothing mean, but anything funny. And if I'll post or I'll give a shout out to the person that I think has the most constructive point for a mistake that I did or the funniest post. And yeah, I'll give a shout out to that person in the next video. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.